All right, let's go ahead and move on to Jon Stewart having some fun at the Democrats' expense with regard to his take on the DNC. Let's take a listen.
They had Democratic Party icons and lifelong Republicans. They had a guy yelling, "Screw the billionaires," followed immediately by a very happy billionaire. They had Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, gay Americans, Jewish Americans, Palestinian American. To be fair, it was only 4 nights, 8 hours a night. But really, it's best not to think about the consequences of our actions over there, especially given the theme of the week.
I can feel the excitement in this arena. It's filled with energy and with joy.
The air of joy.
Joy. Joy.
Yeah, well done there by Jon Stewart. And I mean, just pointing out, as he always does in a very trenchant way, the utter distance between the joy vibe, the inclusivity, we want all these voices, and something that, people who are with the uncommitted movement or just in general want to see, peace and justice for Palestinians and for the onslaught and the atrocities to end. You had time for every frontbencher, backbencher, every Republican, pro-life, all these people you had time for. And trust me, as Jon Stewart points out, you probably only watched in primetime. Those speeches were going for a you had, some random friend of Kamala Harris's from 4th grade or whatever.
2 friends, actually.
You had time
cousins,
for all of these people.
Aunties.
But you could not make room for a vetted, very safe, very frankly laudatory speech endorsing Kamala Harris and criticizing Donald Trump from Palestinian American. So, I mean, it's a glaring hypocrisy. And, I do think that this is a risk for them, because when you are running this, the joy and the inclusivity, and when you're running on vibes, and when a lot of the gains that Kamala Harris has made hasn't been at all from Republicans. It has been somewhat from independents, but it's actually been a lot of getting the Democratic base to come back home. You do risk undermining the overwhelming enthusiasm, excitement that you have from this campaign. And it also on a purely how are you running your operation thing, the whole thing was handled so incompetently.
Yes, it was.
It was such a mess. They tried to lie to reporters and be like, well, actually, we said yes, but they said no. Bullshit. You're just making stuff up. So it was haphazard. It was a foolish decision. It created a drama and a spectacle. It undermined all of their messaging. And, is it going to be the make or break? I don't know. But we do have a lot of polling to suggest that she would benefit, number one, the more she can separate herself from Joe Biden, the more she benefits politically. And number two, there's a lot of polling at this point that voters are more likely to reward a candidate who is in favor of stopping the weapon shipment, stop shipping the bombs, and really going hard for a ceasefire. So in any case, great commentary from Jon Stewart.
You think $500 million just raises itself? I mean, that's really where it comes down to. Look, we got to be honest about where the money is, and also what we saw when we were at the Democratic National Convention. I spoke with Michael Tracy. He attended the Jewish Democrats meeting where Doug Emhoff is speaking about the commitment to Israel. There was one of those little side panels, which were on the outer rings, where Philip Gordon, the vice president's national security advisor, said, we will never consider arms embargo. You have very strong language, which is in there, and it makes people who are hawkish, like Democratic centrist, more Hillary Clinton type donors, who are very, very comfortable, with this. And this is exactly what they want. So I think this was not a voter play. It was purely about consolidating a lot of the rich donors. I mean, think about all of those people who were donating to Columbia University, University of Pennsylvania, all those other people were freaking out about activism. Everybody thinks it's Republicans. No, it was definitely fueled by Republican or right-leaning outlets like the Free Beacon. But the people who themselves are if you're donating $1 billion to UPenn, you're not a Republican, okay? You're a Democrat. You're just one of those old school Hillary people. Those are the people with the money, the power brokers. And I think Kamala is very comfortable in those spaces. That's something that we talked with David Sirota about, the Silicon Valley. She shouted out the founders. I mean, this lady's from California. She knows where the bread is buttered. If anything, you know, being a machine politician, you know that more than anybody. So for her, I think she can benefit enough from the vibe, from the media and all of that, keep the donors happy, and she can go in and, you know, if she has to inherit a problem, well, that's a whole other story. And that's why a few people I've been speaking to, smart, even who are on the left kind of privately, they're like, oh, she'll never survive. You know, like she's going to be one of those people who she may be able to get herself elected, but when she actually has to deal with the problems, you can only run from the media and from governance for so long. One day, if you become president, just imagine, you know, you actually have to make a call here, put out a statement. Are we going to do it or not? Are we going to Israel or not? You can't just both sides out of your mouth for 4 years straight. And so I think that eventually will catch up with her, as it does all people who are ambiguous as candidates. But for right now, I just looked it up. She's got 71 days. There weren't a lot of protesters that showed up to the DNC. The uncommitted people mostly rolled. You know, they're mostly like, yeah, we're here to support Kamala and all of that. And so they think they can win. And I think they're right. I honestly do. You look at Gretchen Whitmer, she didn't even say anything, right? And she's represented from Michigan. I just checked the timeline of a few Michigan people, elected officials and others who we've spoken to in the past. I don't see anything criticizing Kamala. They're stuck in a hard place too. They don't really know what to do.
There's also a risk for her. I mean, colleges are about to be back.
Yeah,
and,
true.
You know,
this week.
That should be. Yeah, I mean, depending on the
Right.
school, they're going to be back in session very soon. So you could see reigniting of that college protest wave, which was really, you know, the beating heart of a lot of this energy. And I think you're right about, you know, how she's weighing things. And obviously, like, the elite of the Democratic Party has long just been, you know, completely committed to Israel. Obama came the closest in recent times to bucking them at all with regard to the Iranian nuclear deal. But even there, it was, you know, it's very tepid. It's very moderate in terms of dissent. But I think that model is a little outdated, because if you think about the bulk of the donations that are coming in from her, it's not from the billionaire donor class. It's from, you know, ranking, like, teachers, it's from nurses, it's these grassroots first-time donors. And so she's gonna have plenty of money, right? Whether she does exactly what, you know, Miriam Adelson or whoever, Bill Ackman, who were both Republicans, giving to that side of the equation, whether she does exactly what they want her to do on this issue or not. I think politically she has an opportunity to benefit from showing distance from Biden, something she's unafraid to do on literally every other issue. On every other issue, she's trying to, at least rhetorically, distance herself from this president. But for some reason, when it comes to Israel, she's, you know, she wants to maintain exactly his posture. I also saw, Saagar, I'm sure you saw this after we did our reaction to her DNC speech. She got all this praise online for what she said about Israel and Gaza.
Oh, yeah, I saw
and I was like, this is literally just exactly what Joe Biden has been saying. And even she called for, you know, like a just and lasting peace or something like that, and a two-state solution. And she was loud and like brave for that. This has been the position of every president in modern history. It has been
the position of every United States president going back, I think, almost, 6 or 7 presidents. So
I was like, I just, like, did we listen to the same speech? It was so confusing to me, the desperate attempt to make this some sort of a, like, good moment if you're someone who wants this horror to end. And, you know, and all of the potential escalation and danger, we're going to talk about this later, that comes along with it, even if you do not care at all about Palestinian lives. So in any case, I thought the whole approach was very disappointing, and not just on Palestine. I also think in terms of the way she oriented her speech, not leaning into more of the populist economics. She talks some about it, but it was a very light touch. I mean, I also think, again, just putting my own politics aside, electorally, there were some polls that just came out. It's like 70% of people support actual price controls. So she shouldn't be afraid of price gouging laws, which are on the books already in a majority of states. She should not be afraid of leaning into those pieces. And yet I feel the consultant class, like,
you can see it
taking hold. I see them getting a grip of the messaging. I see her reverting a lot back to the sort of, you know, Clintonite instincts, both in terms of Hillary and Bill and the Obama type, like triangulating instincts. And I think it's very much to her detriment. And I do think it's a risk come November.
If she loses, we'll have a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Well, if she wins, we'll have a lot to talk about.
Right.
So
If she wins,
be a
we'll
lot to talk about either way.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.